Hello everybody, my name is Troublemaker, and this is Wargame European Escalation. I have a match today between the NATO player. His name is Walter White. Newer player on the scene, have no idea what he's about. I assume he's a Smurf, but he could be an actual player. Absolutely possible. His opponent, however, is not a lightweight. His name is Mesrinelefou. And he also happens to be the top player in the world currently. Although he might get, it's a very close race right now for number one. He's like 10 or 20 points difference right now, so that could shift at any time. But he's basically number one player in the world, 1900 something, or something along those lines. But definitely a very, very good player. Was in the Wargame Cup, did very, very well there as well. And yeah, he's just an all-around great player. And so he's going to rally these Kamaz anti-aircraft units as his choice, and this is a lot of stylistic differences. See how it has the twin autocannon, which means they're also going to be very good against infantry, and they'll be very good against infantry vehicles. So that's something to note. He's rallying a lot of infantry, a lot of these Scott 1s and Scott 2s. Scott 2s, of course, have a gun on them. Scott 1s do not. He has a transport helicopter, might be trying to go for a fast jungle or something along those lines. Walter White, the unknown, the troublemaker here, has 3 Abrams out, and Abrams, of course, are not cheap tanks. I believe they're, yes, 135 points each. So they're very, very expensive tanks, and looks like we're going to see from Walter White quality play. He's going to go for some very high quality units and hope to take out a lot of lower quality units. And of course, Fou, which is what I'm going to call him, has a lot of low quality units. A lot. The highest quality unit he has is this Tunguska. And there's this OP here, the Bradley CFB with the recon ability, has rockets on it. He has a few infantry, not too much anti-aircraft, just a couple. He has a Paladin artillery carrier here, artillery tank, and one artillery is great. Multiple has problems. That's basically how the game kind of goes right now. He also has 2 cavalry tanks, kind of interesting choices. And lots of defense here. Oh my god, is that another pattern? That is another pattern. So he's going to go for some sort of multi-flank attack. He has a main flank hitting the body with tanks going right through the middle. He has a flank of infantry coming along the western side of the map. And then along the eastern side he has 3 tanks and a mutt. So it looks like he's going to go for some kind of crazy semi all-in type thing. And note, he doesn't really have an extra. Nope, here's the extra command. I was totally wrong. Nope. Yes, he does. Yes, this is command, and maybe he's going for a money play, and that could be what it is. He will be grabbing Bravo and Delta. Not going to go for this Foxtrot base. Might be too risky. And we can see, whoa, that's weird. Fou actually is going to fly in some anti-aircraft units, which is really interesting. Mostly because of how weird that is. Usually you'd fly in some kind of recon or some VDV squads or something along those lines. And he wants to capture this key truck depot here, because this will stop his opponent from being able to rally in. Now, as far as tactics go, once your opponent has decided to go for a money play like this, in which they take no bases to rally in units, it becomes important to think about, how am I going to stop him from getting units? And so this is one place you can get units to, and this is the other place. And so your big thought here is to try and get these roads covered. If you can take over these roads, you're in a good place. Now there's a huge infantry squad coming in to face off against the huge infantry squad of Fou. All the while in the middle we see, oh, the Abrams are actually unloading already. My bad. And there's lots of autocannons. Not much here as far as anti-tank weaponry though. This could be a huge problem for Fou, as Walter White is just steamrolling in. He does have the single transport helicopter, which can do a little bit of damage, but it shouldn't be able to destroy this. All the while we see the Paladin starts loading on the zone, and actually Walter White has actually secured Echo, taking that out, so his opponent is forced to play on 4 points compared to his 5 points. This is just a little bit of meta game. In the meta game of this map, one player takes this base, and this base. One player takes this base and this base. And so they basically both done the same thing to each other. They both basically stopped each other from taking these two bases. Walter White playing a little bit ahead. He's actually grabbed this Bravo base, realizing that his opponent would take this 1 point base, and he will be able to get out a lot of reinforcements very, very quickly. So this is a lot slower of a game than I thought it would be, considering the loadouts. Riflemen unloading on the autocannons. This should be a clear-cut win for the autocannons, but speaking of which, they only have 2 hit points. Oh my god. Riflemen doing good. This is not something you see often. And in fact, these anti-aircraft could go down, and that could be a problem. Now, this path here, this attack path here, is not the most common. You don't generally see NATOs taking this attack path. Generally speaking, you see pact defending this very, very heavily and bringing in command armors here. The fact that Foyu is being so aggressive here could put the fear of a major flank that he would not be able to deal with. I mean, this would be a scary. Look at this. He's got a tanky armor recon. That is crazy. This is a flank he would not be able to deal with. If a small slew of vehicles came around the back here, they'd be able to hit this command with absolutely nothing stopping them. So it looks like this rifleman squad should get picked off. I mean, there's no reason for it to live. This small attack is mostly down. Most important point is got the rifleman in the bushes here, so that if there is a flanking squad coming from the Foyu, he has it stopped. There's not really a strategic value for Walter White here, because he doesn't have a reinforcement point yet, but that could change. So lots of checker patterns here, in which people are on each other's side. This is something that will eventually have to get resolved over time, but for now, it looks like we're going to go into somewhat of a money game for Foyu, and ooh, looks like Foyu is going to get some Smurches. Smurches are stun tanks. That's what we refer to them as. They're really, really, really good at putting on high amounts of shocking stun damage. Playing cute with this Cobra. One Cobra. And you can see here that Foyu has been rallying lots of tank destroyers and tanks, realizing his huge weakness against these Abrams is in fact the tanks. And look at this. He's actually so arrogant. He moves the command armor up into his opponent's reinforcement point, and he's actually going to be able to reinforce right on top. And this is actually a pretty huge problem for Foyu. He's even moved the command armor up to Charlie so he can continue getting 3 points. Will that bite him in the back yet? I'm not sure, because there's lots of vehicles here to stop this. And ooh, look at this one. I'm talking about the stun tank. Big stun. No longer has a reinforcement point. It'll have eventually. But a few more shots like that and you can actually kill the command armor. You can see there's 3 hit points from 1 stun. All the while the Paladin will be unloading as well. Not quite as high damaging, but the supply cost of the Paladin is viciously tiny compared to that of the rocket tanks. The rocket tanks just soak up all of your supply from your FOB, and really, if you look at this already, it's already gone, about 25% gone just from one volley. So the supply of Foyu will not last long. It'll be very, very short-lived. Small VPSU squad getting picked out by the riflemen, and this is still here. I'm surprised he's actually not shelling this out with the artillery. That would be, I think, a more common thing to do as opposed to shelling these tanks. And look at this, he's actually got now 4 artillery units. He's got 2 more Danas joining the fold, and he's going to go for a pretty mass artillery strategy. Now this shouldn't work too well because of the high tank count, the very, very high tank count, high vehicle count of Walter White. And in fact, if Foyu continues to rally out too many more artillery units instead of tanks, it'll give Walter White the opportunity to just steamroll, absolutely steamroll Foyu. So that's a huge consideration. Here comes a small little push out. He's got 4 T-55s and some tank destroyers, and this is a nice little combo unit because the T-55s will soak the damage, and the tank destroyers, and these ones have a lot of rockets on them, will unload onto these big, expensive tanks. Of course, Walter White is not falling for it. He's actually going to target down the tank destroyers, and He might not even be able to get one tank out of this. Kind of scary for Foyu, the overwhelming supreme champion of this particular matchup right now. He should be dominating, and Walter White grabs absolutely both of the tank destroyers, and he will also get the tanks. That push is actually crushed, and this is a huge problem for poor Foyu. If Walter White figures it out, keep in mind he does have a recon. He does see something. He doesn't see all of it though. He needs an air recon. If he finds out that there's nothing here, you can just do a little sting attack along the side, wipe out this base, and once that base is over, once this golf base is gone, that's the game. Walter White wins. So, moving ahead, see how long it takes him to figure this one out. All the while, there's still a little skirmish going off these woods here. This isn't as key of a point as it should be. If there was a tank destroyer here or an anti-tank team, this would be an absolutely volatile position, but for now I guess you can ignore it. There's nothing in here that can kill. It's stuff that needs to be in the woods to survive, so in forethought, it's kind of wise of Walter White to keep alive. And keep in mind, this is not a clocking down. That means this is a total destruction mode, which means that all the command members have to die. And we're seeing more artillery coming out. It's 3 artillery units now for Walter White, and we could go into a prolonged artillery war. Opportunity might have been lost there. Comes some Spado Karnowskis. The riflemen are moving into position. T-55 not quite able to support, and he might also be able to grab the Spetsnaz if careful. Nope. He needed all 6 of these carriers, and he's going to vacate that area and just shell it out. This is just a simple good idea. Find out where your enemy is, shell those locations effectively, and actually going to move in a pattern into the woods and wipes out everything in there with that pattern. That's a little bit weird, but it worked. He's got 100 fuel left on. He's going to resupply that soon, bring it back to the main front, and that's going to cover a huge frightening factor for Walter White. He didn't know it was in that woods. It could have been tank destroyers. It wasn't, but it could have been. So small little rifleman drop here right in the middle. The Jalo is going to pick that off very, very easily. It's good to see these Jalos not being used as a frontline aggressive play unit. Speaking of which, all the riflemen are now going to occupy this town, and infantry carriers are going to try and rush forward and kill some stuff. There are some Tu-55s here, so these riflemen should get chopped up, but look at all this artillery fire. So much artillery fire. Just wipes out so much stuff. This position's now lost. The commander has to sit in base, and it's getting bleak for Foyu. In fact, since this is possibly destruction mode, it might be advantageous for Walter White to grab another base, possibly this 3-point middle base, or this delta base here. They're both good. Destruction, as an objective, you have to destroy all command armors. And ooh, this is not a safe location, by the way. This bridge leads right in here. It's really a volatile place. It's as volatile as these places over here. So Walter White really surprising us, putting out a lot of pressure, and Foyu, the overwhelming top player in the world right now, not doing so hot. Just a lot of really good plays here, micro-oriented by Foyu, but it's not really paying off at all. And a Shallow with 2 veterancy able to take out 2 Rise Patents, supported of course by artillery. So he's doing some right things, but Walter White still has the great position on the map. Which is a complete surround on this location. With, if he's able to get forces in here, he should be able to force this command out and have a total surround on this base. And he also has better income, which cannot be ignored. So it looks like Walter White might be going for some killing blows here. He's rallying out 6 tank destroyers. And generally when you rally out tank destroyers, but not always, I mean just in case of this Shallow here, but like I said, not always. When you rally out tank destroyers, generally you want to go in for the killing blow. And look how many artillery units we have here. We have 6, 8, 9 artillery units here from Walter White. And artillery units, like I said, they're a type of unit that they're great because they do area of effect damage. Big thumbs up. They're weak because they take up supply, which means that as you fire, you're going to cost more supply. and the cost is very, very high. So if you're not doing enough damage with them, they generally don't become that valuable. However, the flip side is that if you have like more than 6 artillery, if you have like 9 and 10 and 12 artillery, your amount of damage becomes so insanely good that one volley on any location should kill anything. Note, the prediction has come true. We're 30 minutes in. The FOB has been completely drained for quite some time, and the Smurfs are no longer being used. He can't really afford them, and they're not the units really paying off for him. The units that actually paying off for him is this Mesrinelefou S series with their 12 rockets and cost-effective supply. We have a cavalry tank coming along the flank here. Going to pick off maybe a 255. Nope. This one over here. Targeting is bad. And you can see, as part of Walter White's strategy, he's just got a lot of artillery out, and he's just shelling out random locations, because one volley from each one of these will kill anything. That's just how much damage they do. It's one of these weird things. You find this in a lot of games too, like in StarCraft 2 siege tanks. Once you get like 5, they become like the amazing unit, and you don't get anything else but tanks. With Mutalisks, you get like 8, and then suddenly they become amazing and you don't get anything else but Mutalisks and whatnot. Great pick off, by the way. Risking this cavalry tank move forward and wipe out a tank destroyer, always worthwhile. And for Foyu, this is probably it. He doesn't have a lot on the map to deal with anything, and truthfully, Walter White hasn't been losing a lot at all, and he's just going to continue pushing forward. Here comes the final push. Very, very solid play. Total position play too. And just take the pause here. If you haven't been following, note he took this base and this base, then he moved this base up to this base after securing it, and then he moved up to this base. So he's keeping the whole time 5 points, but slowly pushing it forward to grabbing an advantage. Since he has this base, it means he can take this flank here, all the Apaches and stuff. It also allowed him to cut across here, and you'll note that there's still a lot of units from Foyu in the middle here, all of which are going to be useless because they're not in the rallying path, and they're not directly fighting anyone. He also rallied a big giant flank here, and so he has a total surround on this base. That means there's not really much that that Foyu can do as far as expanding goes. It also means that there's not really going to be many options for him as far as getting away. Command armor pulled by Foyu. I think Foyu's just turtling at this point. He should probably have tapped by now. This is he also might think that he's not as far behind as he is, just because like these scores are still relatively close. But the problem is that the important vehicles have all been lost. There we go. I realized. He realized. Oh, Enohka, you troll, you. I know your image. God, you troll, Enohka. So Enohka, one of the top players in the world, beats Foyu, also one of the top players in the world. This is not his real ELO, by the way. He's got a much higher ELO than that. And, you know, to get a rating that low, Enohka must have lost like 10 games just to control people. Wow, what a jerk. All right, so this is Enohka versus Mesrinelefou, and yeah, Enohka wins. So I have one more game for the day, and hopefully it's not a Smurf. My name is Troublemaker. Thank you guys for watching.